Okay, welcome to Hopeifiers. I'm the acapellist. With me is brother Scott Sweetman. Welcome, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How about you, sir?
I am well. If you recall, dear viewers, from our last episode, we talked about what kind of a bookmark, if you found in a book, what would it say that would be really meaningful to you? What would be the message there that would really resonate with you? Would maybe even change your life go forward? That message and getting it that time in your life. Is that a fair way to state what we were looking at, Scott?
We were looking at ways that, sort of random acts of guerrilla hope, if you will, things that we could share with people in an unexpected way that would give them a boost. And as we know, when you do something for someone else, it's comes right back at you. The universe throws that energy right back in your face. Same way it does with negative energy, right?
Mhm.
Which we've all experienced too. So doing something positive in a random way just means that the universe is going to throw some of that random hope back at you. So we talked about ways we could do that. We gave out a couple of examples, and
Oh,
we
wait, Scott,
challenged.
let me just interject. This came as a result of Scott and our friend Michelle's having an experience with kind of a less than wildly successful product and then kind of saying, hey, but this could become this. So great kind of creative jump that you did. So that, yeah,
Yeah,
good.
and uh, a historical component there that I have a lot of my grandmother's old university books, and she passed away when she was 86, so she must have gone to university. Wow, like probably over like 100 years ago now,
Mhm.
almost. And in her books, she was a great diarist. She wrote diaries all the time, and she would make notes to herself. And I love one of her sociology books, and she was obviously going through sort of a hard time. And it's like get enough sleep, and you know. Talk to Ken this week, which is my grandfather, and stuff like that. And they weren't married that time. They got married quite late in life, I think in their 30s after she was done university. But yeah, how inspirational it was for me, 100 years later to find these little notes, just, make sure you get enough sleep or things like that, that she was leaving to herself and probably had no idea that, her grandson would be, heading into his 60s and finding great inspiration in these things. So yeah, it
Nice.
was,
That's
it was
beautiful.
good. Yeah, good stuff. And we challenge people to come up with some ideas and share them with us about how they might spread some of that uh, random hope around. And we got some replies, which I was pleasantly surprised to see, and
Hey,
some good
wait a minute.
ideas.
You
And I
had
think
you had some kind of quote that you wanted to share with us to kind of kick us off, didn't you?
I do, absolutely.
Okay.
And let me just pull that up here. Okay, I found this quote. I bumped into it doing research for our next show next week. And I'm sorry, Michelle, who does our little adverts that we put out about the next week's show, is away, and I'm going to have to go digging through her computer and find the one for next week. But I'll tell everyone what it is now, and then I'll make sure it gets posted
What
for
is Michelle doing in Toronto again?
well, the new Northside Park, and I've forgotten its name. Do you remember what it's called? The big one. I ran into it trying to meet you one day.
Oh,
You
yeah,
know
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah. Yeah, I
the
know what you mean.
northeast corner of Lethbridge. If you haven't been out there in a while, take a drive out there. A bunch of new subdivisions, and there's a big park the city's put in,
Yeah,
and they're
yeah.
doing a community uh, art installation there that's going to involve the community, and it's an artist was chosen from Toronto, and Michelle was chosen to mentor under this artist and hopefully bring those skills into our community to do this big community sourced artwork that they do.
Hmm.
And that was the motivation. Allied Arts Council in the city of Lethbridge ponied up money for it and put it all together. And so she is down there with the artist for 2 weeks, and they've got a really busy schedule. First thing they're doing is testing the ceramic clay that they have at Casa for freezing and thawing to make sure that when they put it outside, it doesn't all crumble to dust, and
Yeah.
lots of sciencey, arty kind of things together. And then they're building tiles, and then they'll bring it all back here, and they'll work with the community to make more, and then they'll install them outside at this park. So
Cool.
kind of a
Wow.
big deal, interesting, fun,
Nice.
and something you and I are big on, like the Safe Society that we set up, is going out and getting skills that we might need more of in the community, teaching people here those skills, and then in doing that, choose people that we know are then going to be willing to turn around and share those with people, more
Keep that
people in our
keep
community,
that
right?
cycle continuing, right? Keep that sharing of
Yeah.
working. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Excellent.
And I'm always excited when we do that, but I'm also a little bit sad because it used to be the standard operating procedure, right?
Mm.
Like kids would go out. I know my grandfather went and he got a 2-year diploma in engineering. Both my grandparents, all four of my grandparents, were quite educated for their time, and the idea was to bring that back to their community. My uncle went to old college and studied agriculture at a time when that wasn't really, farmer college wasn't a big thing here, but his goal was to bring those practices not only back to his father, who was of a different generation and farming style, but also to share in the community and those things. So it was
Beautiful.
pretty standard operating procedure. And we've kind of gotten away from that, right? We're like, oh, I'm going to get this
Unfortunately.
secret knowledge and then I'm going to sell it because I'm
Right.
going to be the only one. And fair
Yeah.
enough, people got to make a living, but there's another way to do that, right? If the community gains that knowledge and shares it, there's still lots of business opportunities and all sorts of things. So you and I
Yeah.
are big on sharing knowledge and wisdom and skills and making the whole community stronger, right? Is that
Yes, we are. Definitely, Scott. And Scott, did I mention to this thing about that foresters and that Canada Protection Plan thing? Did I mention that again? Okay,
you
good.
did? But you should mention it again. Like
Okay.
that's crazy good.
I actually met with the lovely lady who actually kind of prompted me on this process because she was asking me to help her with her insurance things, her and her hubby. And I looked at it and then started reading the member benefits and I got all excited about that. So in
Yeah,
her case, she's somebody who cares about the community and making a difference there as well. And she volunteers, but now she has access to $6,000 to help a charity out of her choice. Right. And so we just had this conversation today, so I said, if you want, I'll help you kind of streamline, what kind of projects, that kind of a thing, because I can really see this working great. You got, I think they're mostly interested in Streets Alive, and what a great agency, right? So
absolutely. Yeah.
if they and let's say 9 other volunteers all have a forester's policy, let's pretend, then they could all, the 10 of them could go set up. And then all of a sudden they've added in, now not 6,000, but $60,000 to that operating budget. And they could do that on a regular basis, right? So I see this as being a huge thing that we could just, however many policies are out there that are foresters or Canada Protection Plan, if we can find the owners and help them to do this, or even if they say, yeah, I'm not going to do it, but here, somebody else can take my access to, make this ask, right? That'd be great, right?
I think a great term, and we use it a lot in all kinds of things, is force multiplier, right? You always want to have a force multiplier. So whatever whatever energy or resources you can put into something, you want to be able to multiply that, the output of that, as much as you can. And when you look at really successful people, often what they're really good at, they may not be particularly like Elon Musk is smart, no question there. But he's also very good at taking what he has or knows and leveraging that, right, through other channels to multiply its effect exponentially.
Yeah,
And often really successful people are really good at that. And I think this program is a great way. I don't have a couple extra $1,000 to donate to good charities. I wish I did,
sure.
but I just don't, with inflation and everything going up. But this program that you're talking about allows, I can afford the premiums. I get life insurance out of it, which is a good idea anyway. And it helps out a charity. So I see it as a really good force multiplier for people, and
Me
it's
too.
legit.
Yeah,
It's not like it's some fly by night company doing this or some
no.
internet scam. This
Yeah,
is
it's a,
legit
it's an
insurance.
insurance company that charges very competitive rates for their services, products and services, but they obviously have a very community-minded focus that they want to create. In addition to protecting people's lives and their well-being, they want to create this network of people who want to further their community, make their communities better places, and that's a beautiful thing. So,
Well, and of course they're a business. I mean, they're not going to be losing money at this,
nope,
and often people say, oh, well, they're obviously making something on this. Well, of course, but companies who lose don't on everything they do don't stay around long enough to be useful. So yeah,
No,
I'm sure that they've applied some force multiplier in the equation here to make sure that they can keep it going and sustain it for themselves as well. So yeah,
no.
I'm all for those good projects. And anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about, go back and look at last week's show or contact Al. It's and I'm going to be talking to you hopefully this week or next personally to get it set up. Is a legitimate insurance company that Al knows. If people don't know, the acapellist Alan in
Yeah.
his other job is a longtime employee benefit specialist and one of the best anywhere, but certainly here in Southern Alberta. And he doesn't normally do life insurance. That's not his thing, although he will for friends who say, please, Al, please, I can't figure this out. Help me out. And he's come across a program that will take and allow you, once you're, and correct me if I get it wrong, once you have a policy with them, then you can designate 3 times a year, you said, I think?
3 times a year, $2,000 per time. So 6,000 total if you maximize the opportunities.
To a
Yeah.
charity, a registered charity, a legitimate charity of your choice. Hopefully here in the community, help people out, or if you know something bigger or better, that's up to you. So if you want to find out more about that, remember that this is not Al's business and he's doing it to try and help. So if he doesn't get back to you immediately on it, or you want to look it up on your own, he'll give you where to look it up and find out about it. It's just an information kind of thing, but it sounds like a
Gladly help you
really
with
great
this.
deal.
If you got a Foresters or Canada protection policy, I'll just show you how to access some value out of it. You don't have, it doesn't cost you any money. You don't have to, I don't even have to be your guy or your agent. Doesn't have to interfere with that relationship at all. So thank you, Scott. Yes, you summarized that perfectly. Man, you were paying attention last week. You get
Oh,
five Google star reviews for that summary,
whew.
man. Whew.
I'm excited because I want life insurance, and because of my health issues, I need the water droplets on the mirror policy, like you said, that
Yeah, that's my type. Yeah.
that I'm gonna get through that. And also, I'm always wanting to help organizations in our community,
Yeah.
and often I'm just limited by the real fact that I'm not rich and I don't have truckloads of money that I can throw around. So something like this is just absolutely perfect, I think, for your ordinary working type Canadian folks. So
Scott, you know
really
what?
good idea.
I waylaid you again. You're gonna get that. You're gonna share the quote, and then I got us off on another tangent. So, what was this amazing quote that you prepared us for today?
Okay. Yeah. So next week we're going to be talking about. Hold on, I had it. See, and this is where I looked down, and then we got off on another great topic. We're going to be talking about the 4 types of hope, and this is coming from a psychological perspective, and the benefits, the real benefits that can be realized. And we've talked about similar things, but I came across a really interesting article about the 4 main types of hope. And again, this is in the field of positive psychology, which is, as you know, one of my favorite things to research. And boy, if I could do it all over again, I probably would have gone to university to be a positive psychologist, because it's great what it does. Anyway, Dr. Charles Snyder in 2002 stated, and I would agree eloquently, a rainbow is a prism that sends shards of multicolored light in various directions. It lifts our spirits and makes us think of what is possible. Hope is the same, a personal rainbow of the mind.
Ooh, I like that.
Isn't
That's
that
nice.
good? Yeah,
Yes,
I'll
that's
I'll type
beautiful.
that I'll type that in our comments after the show, so people, if they want to read it, because it's you know it's talking about, it's connecting our hope and our own mind to the way that light gets broken down and into
Yeah.
these marvelous colors that just inspire us, right? Yeah.
Their best work, right? Their best thoughts in terms of what would be an inspirational, a phrase that you would read and walk away with more love, more hope, more joy, more compassion, more something, more energy, right? That it would be a positive experience for you.
Well, these weren't necessarily the phrases, but these were
Right.
ideas on how you could share random acts of hope with your oh, sorry about that, folks. How
No.
you could share that we were just talking about, Michelle. That was her calling from Toronto, probably
Oh,
telling me that her plane landed safely.
nice.
So if it didn't land safely, she wouldn't be able to call me, I presume.
No,
So
I
that's,
think it's a fair assumption. She made it safe. Yeah.
yeah. Um, so these were all ideas, and I'm going to attribute them, but I'm not going to use the last names. I'm just going to use the last initials because I didn't get permission to
Okay.
share these online, but
Okay.
we'll go from there. Okay. So, yeah, first one. Okay. And this one, I thought about this one. This comes from Karen J. And she wrote and said that what she likes to do is drop off notes in her neighbors' mailboxes, or
Oh,
put them in their, like a little sticky note when they come home from work.
uh,
So what I understood from the email is that she knows when her neighbors come home from work, right? And same with me. My dogs go nuts. I know when all the neighbors come home, so I sort of have a schedule. Oh, dogs are barking. It's 5:30. Neighbor to the left is home. It's
hmm
6 o'clock. Neighbor across the street is home. Anyway, it sounds a little stalkerish, but it isn't. The intent is really good. And what she likes to do is take a little sticky note and write some encouragement message on there and stick it on the door, so when people come home they're like, oh, who's put what on my door. And I
Yeah.
get closer, and then there's this anonymous message, like,
Beautiful.
yeah. And I thought, well, that's pretty cool. And
Yeah.
hard to do anonymously. Lots of people like myself have a doorbell video camera, so if you come to the door, I got you on video. But so it might not be so anonymous as it would have been 10 years ago, but still a great idea. Yeah, I
Definitely.
like that
No
idea.
question. Very nice.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't think anyone will complain about that. That kind of mail is not junk mail.
Now, she didn't actually give us a phrase that she likes to use,
No,
just a
yeah,
practice, a delivery of the phrase that, or the message she wants to share.
yeah.
Okay.
Out of the six I got, only one of them actually gave me a phrase, but people were maybe a little hesitant. You and I don't care if we look crazy, so
No.
we're willing to put that out there, right? So we'll say whatever comes into mind. So they came out with some really good ideas, and I think they're leaving it up to people. But I was thinking we'll leave this challenge open for another week, and
Sure.
we'll challenge people to actually give us the message. Okay,
Right.
so our Hopeifiers out there in the real world send us some great ideas about guerrilla hope that you can get out there and randomly asymmetric hope, we'll call it like that. It's like asymmetric warfare. There's just where it pops up, where it needs to be. Get it out there, do it, spread that hope around.
Sounds
Okay,
good.
so we're talking about mail. The second one was from Nathan B. Okay, I don't know this person, but I hope I got it right. So what he does is every holiday he sends a big, the giant size cards.
Yeah.
Uh, he gets a big card like that, and he sends it to the long care facilities close to his house or in his neighborhood. And so, of course, you can't call them up nowadays and say, "Hey, can I have a list of the names of the people in your facility?" That's not going to happen. They're not going to give you that. But he sends a big one, and he writes, messages in different languages and in different kinds of messages to fill up the inside, and then he drops it off at the senior care home or long care facilities or those kind of things, so
Nice.
that everyone, because often it's like my mother, I think we've talked about before. She put herself in an assisted living situation because she was alone. Her husband had passed away. She's kind of scared. She's had some problems. She's been assaulted before, so she didn't feel really safe living by herself. And but it's also the people around her. She sees more people, those people, but for whatever reason, friends and family to some extent don't like going to those places as much to visit. Like stopping over at somebody's house isn't a big deal, but going to the home or the manor or whatever seems to be a bit more of a deal. So she's a bit more isolated from her previous circle of friends, although she has many more people around her now.
Mhm.
So I think it's a good idea. And I think that what Nathan
Beautiful.
was saying is he does this every holiday.
Oh,
So
nice.
they look forward to it. Like they get
He's a
it and
very
sorry.
caring human being to take that, to do that and bring that little bit of joy to those folks. That's awesome.
Yeah. The next one, this one, I had to look this one up, and I suggest if you're interested, you look it up and search kindness rock. And so Jenna G sent me that she and her daughter paint kindness rocks, and I had to look that up. And so there, and Jenna left me a phrase, and so what her and her daughter like to do is they paint a bumblebee on it, and
Yeah.
then the wording is B, and then brave, be hopeful, be happy, be
Nice.
whatever.
Beautiful.
And then they take these rocks and they put them on walking trails down in
Oh.
the coulees or river bottom or places like that. So people are out trucking along and they
Oh,
see this brightly painted rock that, says, be brave, be happy, be hopeful.
beautiful.
And yeah, I was kind of blown away by that one. And when I looked up Kindness Rocks, there's people sell them, if you can believe that.
Oh,
If you don't want to paint them yourself, right? Like people, yeah, there's make it and they will buy it, I guess. But this would be good for somebody like me who just would love the idea, but could never get around to actually painting the rocks. And on Etsy, there's people right here in Canada that for $60 will send you 12 of these rocks. And they have sayings on them like, you matter, stay strong, you have this, be brave, have hope. And those are available to purchase. And there's
cool.
kits you can buy to do with your kids that have the paint and the stencils and things. So I
Beautiful.
did not know that kindness rocks were a thing. Now,
Right.
had you
But
have
this
you ever
this
heard of them?
woman and her daughter, they do this. They go paint the rocks, then drop them by walking trails so people get delighted to find this little treasure. Isn't that beautiful?
And I think as a family activity, because we're headed into summer, right? And
Yeah.
I know that we do summer camps and stuff. Parents, it's expensive.
Yeah.
So, getting activities for especially young children to do is a big outlay of cash. Inflation's really
Mm.
high right now. People are
Yes.
watching their money. But what a great thing to do. So they have an art activity, they have a creative writing activity, and then they get to have a physical activity of lugging these rocks around. I
Uh-huh.
guess they load them up in a little basket, like a shopping cart thing, and then they go for a walk together.
Yeah.
And I guess they're pretty strategic. They don't just sort of throw these out willy nilly. They place them where they think people will, come around the corner and see the kindness rock.
Yeah.
So, what a great activity as a family to do, or this would be something that a senior could do with, grandchildren, or pretty limitless, this one.
That
And the rocks don't have to be big, heavy. The ones that I saw online were kind of the flatter kind,
mm,
not small, like
mm,
maybe like this big, a good palette size that they could draw bumblebees and write things on and
right.
rainbows and all sorts of things. So anyway, I thought bee was a good theme because bumblebees are bright, although they don't make people with allergies very happy.
No,
Yeah, but you can certainly use that be brave, be hopeful, be kind as a theme of messages to lead places.
definitely,
That was a
definitely.
good
And
one.
what a beautiful practice.
Yeah, would you do that, Al? Would you paint up a rock or go on Etsy and buy some kindness rocks? And
Oh, you know what? If I was going to do it, I'd paint it for sure myself. Like, I think that's what brings the value to it. It didn't make much sense to me to buy something, gets in a package and throw it on the dirt for somebody to pick up. Like, it's just like, yeah,
yeah, but fair enough. But I
yeah.
I respect that if you wanted to do this,
True,
that
true.
right? You
Yeah, if you
could.
don't have the
Yeah.
time and and money's easier to come by than time, sure, then that makes sense. Sure. Yeah.
Well, I have to confess, and it's probably going to get stolen now, but it's been there since the whole time I've been in Lethbridge. We took all the grass out of our yard because I think that, and of course I'll get flamed for this, but I think in the city, green grass lawns are kind of a cancer because they don't produce anything, and
Right.
people pour tons of fertilizer and they overwater them, and you see all this, processed water going down the drain system, and yeah, just kind of sad environmentally. We've talked about environmental grief. We talked about what you can do, and so when we moved into our house, we said, you know what, this grass is just not tenable, and we love trees and shrubs and things, so we put all rocks
Yeah.
and mulch in our yard, took all the grass out, planted some more trees and plants, and put those out there. And when we were doing that, I found a rock that had a very natural cross in it,
Oh,
and that was inspiring to me. I thought, like, it's not like those weird Cheetos, oh Jesus face, you see them on the internet, and you're like, I see a Cheeto. I don't see anything there. This is very clearly a very well made by nature cross, and it's by my walkway. And every time I walk by it, I'm like, oh, okay, it's an inspiring symbol to me. I feel good about it. And it's there. And I hope that if somebody does steal it, that they needed it more than I do, and it's there. But
yeah.
it's been giving me 10 years of inspiration, just knowing it's there and shining out on the world. So yeah,
You know what? This is a testament of how much I don't pay attention because I've never noticed it. And it's like on your way to your front door,
yeah,
like it's there. I would have
yeah.
walked by it like 57 times.
At
Yeah.
least, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Tomorrow, I'm gonna come and look at your rock and
Please do.
pick up
Don't
something.
pick up my rock, Al. Don't pick.
No, I won't pick up your
Leave
rock.
my rock. Some days, that's the only hope I have is that little rock.
All right.
Okay, yeah. So, but in fairness to other people, I do live on a park, so I see a lot of green grass, whether I have green grass or not. So that's maybe a little hypocritical for me to say. So if you have a nice green lawn and you love it and it gives you hope, keep it. Keep it. Don't listen to me. Do you, right, Al? We always say do you.
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay. Mitsu,
Mitsu.
Japanese name, Mitsu S. So yeah, Mitsu. And they like to drop off chocolates or cookies to a local police department or fire station.
Hmm.
And they made a note here that they buy them rather than make them because they're worried that if they make them at home
Yeah.
and they're an anonymous, like just some random person drops off
They'll throw them
cookies at
away
the
thinking
police
they're good.
station.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're like, yeah, who knows, right?
Yeah.
So Mitsu said that when they do this, they buy like a box of cookies or biscuits or whatever, and then put a nice note there and drop them off at the police station or the fire hall. You were laughing there, Al. What are
I'm sorry. I just had the thought of you know, somebody bringing in a whole bunch of cookies for the police station, and they're all marijuana laced ones or something, and they that
you?
would be a sitcom episode right there. So yeah,
It would, yeah. But Mitsu thought of that, and or maybe she had the experience of that happening or getting, said they refused to take it, and
yeah,
that's why she specifies that you should buy them. But I do think that you
very nice.
could.
Yeah,
I
very nice.
think that you could cook it for a neighbor or somebody that would recognize you as
Yes,
not some rando, right? Like
right.
I could probably take my neighbors something, and I have. Like I love peonies, and so when my peony blooms, peonies have, as you know, big. There's
Yes,
lots of
huge.
varieties, but the ones I like have really big heads, and I take them to my senior neighbors who can't look after their gardens anymore, and I find them very inspiring. They at least pretend they find them nice when I take them to them.
I'm sure they
Uh,
very much appreciate it. Hey, what's the
w-
relationship with ants and peonies? What's that? You got to have
well,
ants to have peonies or something?
nah, that's a rumor, I believe.
Okay.
I read a lot on it because they certainly like them. It's apparently there's a coating on them that's quite sweet,
Hmm.
like my peonies. And the way to get rid of them is to either do it at night, clip them at night, or to dip them in a bucket of water, and the ants all come off, and then just shake it off, and the ants are gone. So
Oh, okay, cool,
either
cool.
one. But yeah,
Yep.
so yeah, flowers. If I take them to my neighbor, and I know that we've neighbors have brought us jam, and the twins made some pin cherry jam off of our cherry tree. See, I don't like grass, but we've got 3 apple trees, a cherry tree, and a choke cherry bush in our yard, and we don't have a big yard.
Hmm. Yep.
Um, but yeah, so we can make jam and things and share that around. So I thought that was kind of a good
Beautiful.
idea. Yeah.
Very nice.
Okay. How we doing here for time? Oh, okay. Have you ever had somebody give you a gift of food, Al?
Oh yeah, lots of times. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you like that?
Oh yeah, it's very nice. Very nice. Yeah.
Do you think that's gone down in popularity? Like there used to be, like in the mall, there'd be Pepperidge Farms and all that. You remember that big kiosks, and you could buy a platter of
Yeah.
food
I
stuff.
don't think it is as often now, but I don't know that for sure. So yeah.
I do know, and it's related to what we're talking about, that food banks and places like that are seeing record numbers of requests right now,
Right.
and that doesn't sound so hopeful, but
No.
there is hope in this message or this topic, in that people really are stepping up, and it's taking some people are having to think outside the box, because a lot of these organizations were, thought they were at everything they could do to feed the people in their communities, and then they've been hit with this big surge of requests for help. And so I remember one year we did Secret Santas, and I loved it, except there were more requests than we had gifts for. And we
Mm,
delivered like 350 toys and stuff. And it was all volunteer. It was just something we did. It was a group of us at that time. I was working in one of the local clubs, and it was Perlish Brothers Auctions auctioned off a steer in the bar that we took the money from and donated to the food bank. And it was a big deal. And I had started this and organized it. But at the end of the night, I felt like sort of a dual feeling, right? Christmas Eve, that we'd helped all these people, but then on the other hand, there was more people in need than we had resources to help.
yeah.
And people that do a lot of giving and donating of their time and energy, that's always one of the things they have to deal with, right? And um, but an unrelated topic is, I worked with a manager that I didn't really respect so much, except every now and again she'd come up with some ideas that I thought were really good. And she always told people not to work overtime, don't donate time. And most people, especially us, people that were raised thinking that you always do a little bit extra to be a good person, that sort of Protestant guilt ideal.
Mhm.
Not that other people don't have guilt, but WASP tendencies lay that work ethic on there, do more than you're asked, and that sort of thing. And so I asked her why. I said, why would you tell people not to donate work to the organization that you're managing for? And she said, because it creates unreal expectations and it doesn't reflect the actual need. And she said, if you can't do the work that's being asked of you in the amount of time and resources that are attributed to that, and you do it on the side, then the organization is never forced to deal with it. She said, if it is left undone, then the organization is aware of it and will designate resources or find a way to make those resources available
Mhm.
to do it.
Hmm.
And so I used that in my own head when I was thinking about the people that we couldn't help. The fact that there was more people than we could help was a message. And at first I was kind of ashamed of that. I was like, oh boy, there was kids that needed us and we couldn't do anything for them. But after processing it a bit, I realized that by telling people that we weren't able to reach, another 70 or 80 kids, that spread the message that more people needed to get involved and more
Yeah.
businesses needed to step up.
Yeah.
And so I think that the food banks and things, and you've done work with the food bank people here,
A little
right?
bit.
I mean,
Yeah.
through stuff, and know them well, and they do a great service in the community. Um, they're all struggling right now, and they're trying to let people know, and more people have stepped up. The need is still outstrips, from what I read and heard in the last couple of weeks, the need is still higher than their ability to meet it. But more and more people are coming online to help out, donate a little bit of time, donate a little bit of food, because it's not just money out of your pocket, right? Like, they need help collecting food, they need help distributing food, they need help, rotating their inventories. So the message in there, I think, is that uh, get involved. And the first set of shows we did, we talked about getting involved. If you feel isolated, one of the things you can do is volunteer. Remember that show we talked about
Mhm.
that,
Mhm. Mhm. Definitely.
right? And
You
you
know what?
you can speak to that. You volunteered more people hours. Oh, that's a gender slip there. More people hours. Yeah, more people hours. I'm going to get beaten because I live in a house full of very strong-willed minded women, and they're going to tell me that there's no such thing as man hours. There's people hours.
Exactly.
Anyway, yeah. So you've done a lot of volunteer hours. How does it make you feel when you volunteer?
It's always good to be. It's always feels very redeeming just to kind of be a value to somebody else, even if all you've done is gave them a smile, or they smiled because you were there. You gave them a hug, or you gave them a little bit of a word of encouragement, or in the case of volunteering, when you're passing, here's your sandwich or here's your drink or whatever here, and you give them a nice smile. I mean, that's a beautiful thing, right? So yeah.
And I know that you always say that it's if you reach a point where you have more than you need, that's a great point to give. But sometimes the best time to give is when you're needing yourself. And right?
Well, I think so, but I think that's kind of exceptional. I don't think many, you know what? Maybe I'm wrong. I'm thinking that I don't think I felt that I could truly give until I felt that I was like had enough, that all
Yeah.
my needs were met, kind of a thing, right? And I think that at that point I was more generous, or became more generous. I think before it was I was too focused on what do I need, right? So I couldn't really go look outward, right? So I think it's
I
exceptional when people can do it, that they give of something they don't even have. Like, they don't have food in their fridge and they're going around giving sandwiches to people on the street, or they're sleeping in a tent and they're going to try and find somebody a house to live. And that's my friend Alvin Mills, that Blackfoot man. That's his kind of thing. That's how he would function in the world. That's more generous than I am. He's a more generous human being than I am. So
But I think in mental health, it's got a place for people that are feeling marginalized or alone or left out, or
definitely.
have had a recent bereavement, or like my mom, who left her normal circle of friends to move into the manor, and that was exasperated by COVID and things where her friends couldn't come visit her. Right? It was
Yeah.
only the people in there. And I recommended to her that she should volunteer, offer to do something, to work in the games room of the library there, or, you know, do surveys or
Yeah.
whatever they need help doing, as a way to meet the people and feel needed, and a
Yeah.
part of the community there. So I do think that, helping out at the food bank, and sometimes when you're suffering, it's good. I want to be careful how I word this. It's not good that other people are suffering too, but sometimes it puts our suffering in context when we realize that other people are experiencing shortcomings in their mental health or in their physical needs, or
Right. You're
you
not
know
alone, right? You're others are in that same struggle that you're having, right? So yeah, that's a positive, that's a
exactly.
good thing, right? That, and then perhaps you can encourage each other to go to, like, to move along to better lives, right? So yeah. Or
Cool.
Scott, do we go
I
ahead.
have two more here.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah. So the next one, and this one I thought was kind of cool. It was sent in by a millennial, and probably disguising the last name won't help. It was by Cat S. Those of
Oh,
you that know me can probably figure out who Cat S is. And she said that a really cool thing that, well, I think it's cool. She didn't say it was cool, but I think it's cool, is that you know your friends quite well, right? So you know what they're into, what they're interested in, what their likes are. And so she, a couple times a week, she'll spend some time trying to find posts or videos that a particular friend would like, and then she sends them a little reel, an Instagram reel. That's what she calls it. Yeah.
Oh, that's
So
nice.
yeah, a collection of, like, if somebody's into funny cat videos or into nail fashion or into
That
race
young
cars,
that young lady must have had exceptional parents, eh? Do you think?
or lots of people around her that gave her inspiration for hope and doing good stuff. But yeah, and I
Good,
like
good.
this idea because a lot of the other ideas, you can tell they pretty much come from our generation, right? They're pretty old school, analog kind of, you know, take this thing, do something to this physical thing, take this physical thing to another physical place. Ta-da, we're
Mhm.
done.
Yeah,
This is done from the safety of your own space. You don't
exactly.
have to go out and, face. And I thought this would be really good for people that maybe are shut in because of health or other issues, or people that have mobility. Like I loved Jenna G's idea about the kindness rocks and going out hiking with your kids. I would have loved that project when the girls were little. Like that would have
Right.
been on my top list this summer. We would have been kindness rocking the whole community. But you know, now, of course, they're out doing university and I've got my own stuff. But this is something that you could do in free time or late at night when everyone else is in bed and you can't go to sleep or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
I
And
like
where's your
this one.
focus, right? You're focused on, here's a friend of mine, and I'm thinking of them. I'm paying attention to them and what their needs are, their interests are, right? That's very, very generous, right?
Great point. And often I find myself, I come across something that I like and I say, okay, who among my friends would like to know about this too?
Mm,
This goes the other way. This says, oh, Alan's my friend. What is Alan like? I'm going to go out and find things that Alan likes instead
mm,
of just finding something I like and then finding people who share that interest. This is saying, pick a friend or maybe somebody at your office or somebody that's in need, and saying, oh, I know they like this, and I'm going to take some time. And that's the brilliant part of this suggestion is you're saying to that person, you matter enough that I took personal time to find what makes you happy,
mhm.
and
That's
I'm sharing
beautiful.
that with you.
Yeah,
And
beautiful.
that's a great message of hope. I'm going to try that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. The last one I have is, this is one that I came across when I was doing research. And where I live, as I said, I live by a park, and there's always people walking by, right? All day and night, there's people
Mhm.
going by. And my dogs love that because they get lots of energy running to the window and barking at the poor people walking by. But this suggestion was that if you have a lot of traffic, to put inspirational things in your window.
Oh,
And
okay.
so, like, the one example was teddy bears.
Oh,
This person had, where their house was near a park, and they people were walking by, and they had a bunch of plants in their window, and they would put little teddy bears in and around the plants, not
ooh,
some sort of suspect looking, would you like a piece of candy kind of display, but a really cool, obviously just,
nice.
oh, there's a little teddy bear in that plant kind of
Right.
thing. And I thought, there's a lot that can be done with that. And then they talked about, putting up signs for in your yard instead of the just at election time. Put a sign up in your yard that says, thank you, or nurses are superheroes, that kind of thing.
Got it. So
And
kind of beautifying your space for the enjoyment of others, that others are gonna be
yeah,
inspired by how you've enhanced your area, your space. Yeah, that's nice. That's yeah,
I think the basic message there was just like we were talking about, taking time out of your busy schedule, because who isn't busy?
right.
I always feel bad when I write, oh, I've been really busy. And then I stop and I think, the person you're sending this to has probably been just as busy or more busy than you've been. So that's kind of a not necessary statement. But anyway, yeah, that you've taken time out of your schedule to share something with them.
Perfect.
And,
And Scott, if I understand what you said, we're gonna keep this challenge open, asking for your phrases of encouragement, your words of encouragement, your gems that you can share. That if somebody found that, if somebody read that, if somebody heard that, they'd say, I feel stronger. I feel better. I feel, thank you. I feel,
yes,
yes. Yeah, that's great.
I and so to do that is you can we post these to both of our personal Facebook pages. Jess FM posts it to theirs, and you can DM it. You can put it in a comment. Our email addresses are on there. The acapellas, normally there's a message on the bottom there, but it's not there at the moment. It's
Who's
really
running
easy.
this show? Gosh.
Yeah, just search the acapellist and the acapellist website will come up, and you can contact him that way. Al and I are really I won't use the bad word, but we're communication junkies. It's pretty easy to get a hold of us and share things with us. And so, oh, you can text Al right there. Good, I like that one. So please, if you have, and this week, we're not looking for ideas. You can send them. If you have an idea, we might try and work them in, but there's a lot to go over. But we want to hear your phrases so they can be plagiarized by people who may not feel creative enough, but still want to share some hope. Right?
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Amen. So
Come and share
next
something.
week, we're going to cover that.
Go ahead, Scott.
And we're going to cover, I'm sorry, I'm just, without Michelle here, I'm not guaranteed that I'm going to get the ad out right away, but I'll try. We're going to go over the 4 types of hope and real benefits, real statistical benefits of hope.
Beautiful. I'm looking forward to it next week. To our viewers, keep well. See you next week. Thanks, Brother Scott.
Thanks from the acapellist and myself, Scott Sweetman. Stay hopeful, stay well, and we'll see you next week.